All right, y'all, this is your update on what's going on with the immigration detention cases. There was a Board of Immigration Appeals, BIA decision called Hurtado, and this case held that immigration judges essentially don't have authority to offer bond to immigrants who have been detained in the interior of the United States because they are being treated as applicants for admission, even if they've been here for many years, and therefore applicants for admission are subject to mandatory bond, and therefore judges do not have authority to issue bond. So that was the BIA case that essentially is the appellate body over all of the immigration judges. So immigration judges started denying bonds to immigrants in detention. Then everybody started filing habeas petitions in federal court, and over 93% of the hundreds and hundreds of petitions that were filed were approved by federal judges, because the federal judges said, wait a minute, an immigrant who's arrested in the interior of the United States is not an applicant for admission. That is a wild and out there statutory interpretation. We disagree with the BIA. You are incorrect. It would render what Congress passed in the law unnecessary, right? And so in statutory interpretation, you have to assume that what was in the law was there for a reason. It's also just from a policy decision, doesn't make sense to all of a sudden 20 years later have a brand new, or 30 years later have a brand new interpretation. So all these people were getting habeas in federal court. Then what happened was the Fifth Circuit issued a decision last week called the Buen Rostro decision. And this decision agreed with the BIA, where it says, you know what, doesn't matter if somebody entered the country without a visa and they've been here for years and years and years, we're still going to read them as an applicant for admission. So that immediately sent off this firestorm. Everybody's like, oh my God, there goes habeas. We can't get people out in federal court either. But now we're starting to see some federal judges come out and say, wait, we can still detain people on just general due process grounds. You cannot just take someone's liberty away from them and not give them an opportunity for bond under long-standing case law and just basic interpretation of people's basic right to liberty. So now we're starting to see a lot of new arguments where lawyers are still putting forward the due process arguments after the Buen Rostro decision in the Fifth Circuit, and it does seem like the habeas petitions are still going. So there's a lot of practice advisories, and lawyers are getting together and talking through how do we preserve these arguments and keep getting people out. But this is what you're hearing about when you're hearing that the immigration bond eligibility is up in the air. So it's the Hurtado case in the BIA, then all the federal habeas petitions, then the Buen Rostro case in the Fifth Circuit, and now we're going to see what's going to happen with all the habeas petitions post Buen Rostro. There you go.